again. I am back today with part 4 of our How to Start Competing in Bodybuilding video series. So today we are going to be doing setting up your own training plan for like what workouts and exercises you will be doing over the course of your prep for a bodybuilding competition. Most people probably won't comment on it, but I have to say it anyways. Like, yeah, I'm not wearing any makeup today. It's my day off. I trained, I'm tired, I'm in prep. We're gonna get used to this possibly more as I go through prep. I get tired, and on my days off I just have no desire to put on makeup. So despite this, we're just gonna rock it and roll with it because this is about information and not about... Okay, so the number one thing when you're setting up a training plan is going to be to have an end goal in mind for your training. So obviously training is a lifetime thing. Hopefully that you'll adopt it as a lifestyle and it's not just like this 12-week period of your life, because that's not really what bodybuilding is. It's a passion for the lifestyle and continuing to lift. But so you're going to pick, so for the following, say 12, 16, 18 weeks, what is your goal? It can be losing fat, it can be putting on muscle, and it can be increasing strength. Now, as a bodybuilder, you're gonna have different goals than somebody who is a powerlifter. You're not a powerlifter if you're going into a bodybuilding competition, especially as a female, in the smaller categories. Now, if you're gonna be in women's bodybuilding or in women's physique, like you may incorporate more powerlifting type things into your routine, but even then you're not a power lifter. So you can overlap your goals. So you might have the goal of, obviously you probably want to lose fat, because in prep almost all of us, even the pros, have fat to lose. And you may be trying to put on some muscle at the same time, and this is known as a body recomp, and it can be done with new lifters. People who are experienced have a harder time body recomping. Your body just doesn't like to put on muscle as quickly once you're more intermediate or advanced in lifting and you've done some progressive overload in your life and put on some muscle. Like that initial, they call it like beginner's gains, they come to a halt pretty quick and then it becomes a lot more difficult. So you need to decide where you're at. This goes back a couple videos. Like, do you have a strong muscular foundation? If so, your goal is to maintain the muscle that you have during your cut, but shed off the body fat. Maybe you need to take this time to put on muscle, in which case that goes to your nutrition. You need to be eating more. But when we just break it down just to training, we need to know what our goal is. Okay, so for the purpose of this video and for the majority of viewers who are going to be looking into starting a prep, we're going to go with the fact that you want to maintain the muscle that you have, if not put on maybe a little, and lose body fat. So that's gonna be the goal for this video. Those are gonna be that's the example that we're using to get to what I'm discussing. So the next step is to figure out a training split that works for you. So things that might make this different for different people is going to be like your work schedule. Now, granted, with prep, you have gotta be disciplined. There's no like, well, I work 5 days a week, so I can only train 2. Like, no, that's not how it works. On average, you need to be training 4 to 6 days a week. Now that's gonna, again, depend on how much body fat you have to lose, where your muscle's currently at, those kind of things. Also, what you feel like you can commit to. I personally currently lift 6 days. You can split these up however you want, whatever's gonna work best for your schedule. This will also be when you decide, are you gonna like lift in the morning or in the evening? We went back to this in the previous video about nutrition, like having food before your workout and after your workout. So kind of factor that in when you're thinking about it. And even if you leave out the time, as long as you say, I'm gonna commit to these 4 to 6 days, like that's your starting point. You need to do that. So when deciding what to do with your 4 to 6 days, you need to remember a couple things. One, muscles do not grow in the gym. They grow while you rest and recover. So for somebody like me who is training 6 days a week, I definitely prioritize my rest and recovery, which means like I'm eating a proper diet. I'm making sure that I'm sleeping. I stretch. I am taking BCAAs. I'm doing things that will enhance my recovery because I want to maintain the muscle that I have, if not maybe put on a little. You're also going to want to focus your training on the areas that are most important to your division in bodybuilding. So for instance, I am a wellness competitor, so the majority of my workouts are lower body. I do 3 lower body days a week, and they consist of like a quad day with glutes, a hamstring day with glutes, and then a total body leg day. So I am hitting my legs very hard, and I heard it, I don't remember who said it, but somebody that I was watching a video of had said, you know, if you think about how many times in a year you're gonna hit a muscle group, like to stimulate that muscle for it to grow, if you're only doing 1 training session a week, that's only 52 times a year that you're stimulating that muscle to grow. So for somebody who's in wellness, stimulating the muscle 3 times a week, as long as you can recover from it, is good. Other things you'll want to focus on, especially as a female, because this video is primarily geared towards female, is going to be your shoulders. They want your shoulders to not be too big or too striated, but they do want them to be developed. You need to be able to see them and have nice rounded caps from the front, but also in your back pose, they are going to be looking at your rear delts. They also look at your back, but they don't look at your back definition, but your back is gonna help create that small waistline, and it doesn't matter what division you're in, having a small tapered waistline is huge. It's just part of the aesthetic. It's part of the human aesthetic. Having a small waist and then a broader back and broader hips is just more pleasing, and it's definitely taken into consideration on the stage. That isn't to say that you shouldn't work your chest or your bis or your tris, but you need to, again, go back to being very objective and looking at your body and finding places where you're lagging and programming them into your training, and then look at places that perhaps you're already developed enough or extremely developed and that you need to kind of pull back from. So for me, my upper body grows very fast. I still work shoulders once a week as an entire day, but as far as like biceps and triceps, my arms are fairly large for someone of my size and what I'm going for. So I only train those. I hit them on like a total body day or on a back day, like once every 2 weeks, and I only do a couple sets, just enough to kind of stimulate the muscle, but I don't want it to. So the next important part is obviously going to be your sets, reps, and the exercises that you choose. So this kind of comes down to playing around with what's going to work for you and for your body, but there are definitely some guidelines out there as far as, you know, what you can do and what rep schemes and set schemes work to achieve a certain result. So again, this means bodybuilding is not powerlifting. You are not in the gym to hit a PR on a big lift every day. So when you do that, when you're deadlifting or squatting or benching extreme amounts of weights for 3-4 reps, you are engaging your entire body. That's why they're total body compound moves. So it engages the muscles throughout your entire body, which makes absolutely everything work. And it also makes your waist work because you have to stabilize yourself. And so that can create a larger waist. So if you've ever like been on Instagram and watched a wellness girl or a bikini girl, they do a lot of isolated moves. Bodybuilding is not about being the strongest person in the room, even if they look really strong, and they probably are, but they're not power lifters. They're not out to set new PRs. So the way that you'll want to kind of structure your workout is you will want to have some big compound lifts. You're not trying to aim for PRs, but you don't want to avoid squats or deadlifts or bench. You need to have those as part of your program, but they are not the sole focus of your program. You'll be focusing on a lot of isolated and accessory moves. So you have your major compound lifts that I listed. So your squat, your deadlift, your bench, your overhead press. Those are going to be major compound moves that engage the entire body. Again, they need to be in your program, but they don't need to be all the time, every day. Then we move on to your accessory moves, and this is what's going to fill the bulk of your workouts. And there's tons of them. You'll kind of have to do some research to find what you want to program in, but these are things like lunges, hip thrusts, leg extensions, leg curls, glute kickbacks, tricep pushdowns, bicep curls, things like that. These are the things that isolate a specific body part, and this is where it comes back to like, what part is lagging? Do your hamstrings lack? So now you need to find accessory moves that you can use to work that muscle. I would say the max number of exercises that you need on a daily basis is 6 to 8. On my heavy leg days where I'm taking long rests and I'm doing big tough moves, I'm probably only doing 6 different exercises that day. And maybe that seems like a little and you think like, oh, you can't be accomplishing anything with that. But it's quality over quantity. You don't need 12, 14 different exercises, despite what you might see in TikTok videos. You only need like 6 to 8. And your workout should probably be an hour to maybe like an hour and a half for your actual like lifting portion. With that, you'll probably be doing in the 3 to 4 set range, and then you'll be doing 8 to 12 reps. That's the hypertrophy range that almost everybody, but a lot of people know that like that 8 to 12 range, that's like what bodybuilders use. That's where they're at to try to put on muscle. Now, as you get into smaller movements, people like glute kickbacks, you might be all the way up into like 15 to 20 reps. At this point, you're doing muscle endurance, and it will create, these are like pump moves. So it's going to send a lot of blood flow to that muscle, which does in turn help with growing muscle, but it's not the same as going a heavier weight for less reps. I would say start with your biggest move throughout the day. This is going to, after your warm up, this is going to send the most blood to that area. It's going to make that muscle work really hard and engage it. And so once you do that, then you can really burn it out and really focus in with your accessory lifts. Also, rest periods are important. I don't know as though you need to watch to the exact second, but I wear my Apple Watch and I'll glance at it. So when I finish a set, I'll glance at my watch, and then I kind of take my rest, and then I'll glance at it again and make sure that I'm in a rest period zone. So for larger lifts, so if I'm squatting and I'm squatting fairly heavy, I generally take like a 2 to maybe 3 minute rest between my major squat lifts. But once I get into my accessories, the goal is to move a little bit quicker. You don't want to like just continuous, but 30 to 90 seconds is a good rest period. For shoulders, like I only try to rest like 30 seconds because it's a small muscle group and you can burn it out pretty quick, but you're going a lot lighter than say you'd go like on legs. So on leg things that are accessory moves, I might rest for 60 seconds in between sets, but I try to keep that time the same. One, because this is another way to increase intensity through your workouts, which we're gonna talk about next. So the goal with bodybuilding, with any strength program at all, like it doesn't matter if you're powerlifting, anything, is progressive overload. You've probably heard this term before, and it just means that you are progressively overloading the muscle. You're adding more tension to the muscle because it gets used to doing something. And it'd be like, the only way I can explain it is like if you go to class and you learn something and they just kept teaching it every single week, like you're not getting anywhere, right? So once you learn the first step of geometry, then you can move on to the second step because you're progressively, like it's getting tougher and you have to work to improve your mental state. Same thing with your muscles. So there are different ways to increase and progressively overload your muscles. It is not necessarily always adding weight to the bar. And as a bodybuilder, you kind of have to remember that it's not always about getting to like a really high weight. Sometimes the best way to progressively overload your muscles is to increase like your intensity. Another way to progressively overload is to add sets or reps. So once you can do 10 reps for 4 sets, the next time that you go and do that move, or the next week, you're going to do 11 reps for 4 sets, and then 12 reps for 4 sets, and then you move on to going back to like 10, but this time you're going to be doing 5 sets. So you can continuously overload your muscles without having to put a ton of weight on the bar or on the machine. I know that this is a lot. There is so much information out there on putting together a training plan, and I haven't given you any exact examples, which I can't really because everybody's training is going to look different. So you need to really look at your body and decide where you're lagging, what you need to work on, what needs to come up. So whether that means you look in the mirror and you say, oh, like I have no shoulders, so I need to program shoulders in possibly twice a week, and my glutes are lacking, so I need to work glutes multiple times a week as well. So factor those things in, but make sure that your workouts are structured to fit your goals and what you want to achieve. So I want a bigger butt. Well, in order to get a bigger butt, you need to be working your glutes 2 to 3 times a week. The last thing I want to touch on is cardio. I don't think anybody personally should do cardio for an entire long prep, like 16 to 18 weeks. It's a lot. Because on top of an hour to an hour and a half of training, you'll be doing cardio. When I do it for myself, I kind of wait till my body starts to slow down and I don't want to drop any more food. So you're just trying to create a deficit, right? That's how you lose fat. So in order to do that, one or the other has to happen. You either have to drop your food or you need to increase your activity level. So when I'm at a place where I'm like, I don't want to drop my calories anymore right now, or I don't think that it's a good thing, it could inhibit like my muscle structure and it could make me lose my muscles, then I start adding in cardio, and I do it very slowly. So like 20 minutes 3 times a week, and then the next week, again, progressive overload. The next week we move up to like 30 minutes 3 times a week, and after that we move up to 30 minutes 4 times a week. So you're only adding another 30-minute session up until maybe I'm at like 6 days, and then it's just continuous time increase with your cardio. So that's the last thing I want to talk about. Again, I know this one was a lot and there's a lot of ambiguity in it. If you have any questions that you really want to ask, or you think there's something I could help you with, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help. Training is it's so personal to every different person and what their body is currently like and what they're going for, that I can't just, cookie cutter plans don't work. So you kind of have to find what works for you. If you have questions, let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in our next video.